On February 22nd, 1813, the St. Lawrence River froze solid enough to hold an army. British troops didn't sail toward Ogdensburg. They simply walked. By the first cannon fire, the invasion had already crossed the border, silently. Legally impossible to stop, and well, directly into the heart of a river town that thought the water protected it. 2 centuries later, that same river would hide illegal cargo, missing men, federal raids, and quiet acts of defiance, and the road beside it would witness every era without ever being named for any of them. This is the true history of River Road, told with real names, real places, and events that actually happened. Welcome to Street Sign Storytime, where the most ordinary roads turn out to be anything but that. Today's road is River Road, running along the St. Lawrence River through Ogdensburg towards Morristown. This road was never formally built in a single movement. It evolved because the river demanded access and because history kept happening right beside it. What history, you say? Well, let's jump right into it, because during the War of 1812, you might have heard of it in some history lessons if you paid attention and not took a nap in history class. Ogdensburg, it was not a quiet border village. It was a strategic forward position. American forces under Major Benjamin Forsyth, well, it used Ogdensburg as a base to raid British supply lines across the river in Upper Canada. Maybe you went to Upper Canada Village before, got some freshly baked bread, or went to get freshly baked bread and they told you they were out, and you were sad as if you went through the McDonald's drive-thru and, well, the milkshake machine was down. But either way, these raids, they succeeded and embarrassed British command. That embarrassment brought, well, retaliation, because on February 22nd, 1813, only 500 British and Canadian troops led by Lieutenant Colonel George MacDonald crossed the frozen St. Lawrence River on foot. American defenders numbered fewer than 100 militia. One man, Sheriff Joseph York, refused to abandon the town. He manned a cannon near the riverfront and continued firing as British troops advanced through Ogdensburg. Contemporary accounts describe him holding position until capture. British forces, they seized American artillery, destroyed military supplies and vessels, and started to burn portions of the village. Ogdensburg fell and remained without meaningful American military presence for the rest of the war. This wasn't folklore. It's documented in U.S. and British military correspondence. One building near River Road that, well, didn't burn was built in 1810 by wealthy merchant and financier David Parrish. The Parrish mansion stood overlooking the river during the British occupation. Parrish was one of the most powerful figures in early Ogdensburg, his wealth tied directly to river trade and speculation and international commerce. The mansion's survival during the 1813 attack is significant, in my opinion, for 2 reasons. It physically survived when much of the surrounding area didn't, and it actually became a symbol of Ogdensburg's post-war recovery. Today, that same building houses the Remington Art Museum, dedicated to artist Frederick Remington, whose work depicted frontier conflict, soldiers, and the very kind of border tension this town experienced firsthand. The mansion is not just art space. It is a witness structure. It saw war arrive across the ice. If walls could talk, well, these walls certainly would. Maybe ghost hunters should head over to there, see if they could get the walls to talk, right? But River Road was not engineered like a modern highway. It actually developed organically from indigenous travel paths, shoreline access routes, and early settler footpaths, dock and warehouse connections, as well. As river commerce increased in the early 19th century, these paths were widened, reinforced, and finally maintained, not by state planners, but by necessity. The road existed simply because boats needed landing access, custom officers needed patrol routes, merchants, well, they needed storage proximity. Formal state improvement of shoreline roads didn't occur until the later 1800s, when New York began standardizing road systems. Until then, River Road was shaped by traffic, shaped by weather, shaped by trade, not actual blueprints. No engineers quite yet. And that matters because it explains why the road always sat close to the law, but never fully under its control, right? Speaking of law, let's talk about Prohibition, because it began in 1920, and the St. Lawrence River immediately became a liability for federal enforcement. Canada, they could legally manufacture and sell alcohol, but the U.S., it couldn't. River Road became the land-based extension of that divide. Federal records and regional newspapers, they document several liquor seizures along river towns. There was raids on shoreline properties, arrests tied to vehicles leaving River Road. One of the most documented tragedies occurred in 1927 when Duff Kaia and John Valos, two local men, disappeared during a smuggling run. Their boat was recovered. Their oars, they were found. Kaia's body later surfaced near the Canadian shoreline. Their deaths were reported in local papers and discussed publicly, a reminder that the river had always demanded a price. Smuggling, it continued anyways, because the river always offered opportunity, and River Road always offered access. And long before alcohol crossed this river illegally, people crossed it desperately. Ogdensburg is a documented crossing point of the Underground Railroad. For enslaved people fleeing north, the St. Lawrence River represented a final barrier between bondage and freedom because Canada abolished slavery. These crossings, they were unmarked, very dangerous, often conducted at night. River Road didn't advertise this role, but it supported it quietly. That makes River Road something rare in American history, a single corridor tied to war, commerce, crime, and freedom, all at once. I mean, River Road never asked for attention, but it has watched an army cross frozen river, a town that was burned, a mansion survive, bodies pulled from the river, freedom seekers disappear into darkness. I mean, some roads carry traffic, others, they carry memory, and River Road carries history that never stopped happening. That, ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, is another Street Sign Storytime, the River Road. Unbelievable. Being a guy that moved into this area, in middle school, I had no idea that, this road, let alone this area, had so much history. This is just a little piece of it because, let's be honest, our attention spans are about, this big. So hopefully I was able to put a lot of real history into a story that was very intriguing to me. If you're still listening to this, it was obviously intriguing to you. But if there's an area, if there's a street name, if there's a road that you want me to dig deep into and find some real history and mystery about it, please comment right about now. Do all the YouTube-y stuff if you want. Give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I got broad shoulders. I can take it. Share it to a friend, a teacher, a grandparent, an uncle, even that weird uncle that, maybe drinks a little too much, talks about Prohibition as if he was there, but was definitely born in the 40s, 50s, or 60s and not the 20s. We all have one of those. Either way, can't thank you enough for, spending some of your busy time here with me on the Beard Laws Network. We will be back next week. Same time, same place. Well, different street. You know what I mean. That's all we got. We'll be back next week. Take care, everybody.